Welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in today's INDEAL U session. Today we're going to be talking about digital sales strategies with Sid Meadows. We're going to be going through an overview. We thank you for spending some of your time to join today's conversation. So before we kick off, jump to one slide ahead there. Before we kick off, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping and a little bit of an update. So when you jump into today's meeting, your camera is going to automatically be turned off. Your mic is automatically going to be muted, but we want to make sure that we can stay as engaging as possible. So throughout today's session, if you have any questions or any comments, there is going to be some time towards the end to make sure that they all get answered. So be sure to use the Q&A panel for updating your questions and comments. And this session will be recorded as well. So if you are interested in coming back through and watching this again, you will be able to do so. So at this time, I'd like to introduce today's guest. We have Sid Meadows. Welcome, Sid, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Trevor. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for asking. Well, thank you for taking some time for today's INDEAL U session. We have a lot of excitement around what you're going to be talking about today. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about you, what you do, and what you're going to be talking about today?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So for those of you that I do not know, I'm Sid Meadows, and I'm a business strategist and high performance coach. I've worked in the office furniture industry my entire professional career, from being an individual contributor at an office furniture dealership all the way to being a senior vice president for a fast-paced, fast-growing office furniture manufacturer. So there's no doubt I love this business and I love this industry. And I'm really excited to be here today, partnering with INDEAL to share my insights with you about digital sales strategies. I am also the host of the Trend Report podcast, which focuses on having real conversations with real people about real topics and issues that our industry is facing today. And I'm sure that you'd agree with me that we are facing quite a few issues, and there's a lot of conversations that we need to have. And Trevor and I are going to talk about the podcast again in a few minutes. I am also a contributing writer and a columnist for the Business of Furniture magazine, where I write about topics related to professional development and growth. If you are a subscriber to the BOF, I'd welcome the opportunity to hear your thoughts about some of the columns that I write, which typically appear in the magazine every other week. So with that, Trevor, that's really who I am in a nutshell.
We got a lot of resources from you there, Sid, so thank you very much. So before I pass it over to Sid, I just want to go over some of the learning objectives today, just so you can get an insight of what today's presentation is going to be about. So obviously we are focusing on digital marketing. So the learning objectives for today are a thorough understanding of what digital marketing entails in today's market, insight into what your audience needs you to have a digital marketing strategy as a part of your core business strategy, a new perspective on marketing, why you need to seek to be found rather than always finding your customers, and tactical steps you can take to implement a regular digital marketing strategy for your business today. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Sid Meadows. And again, we really push for you guys to ask your questions and have your comments coming throughout today's session, because we will have time to answer those towards the end. So the floor is yours, Sid. We're really excited, and thank you again.
Well, thank you, Trevor. I'm glad to be here. As I mentioned earlier, I'm really passionate about our industry, and I'm honestly a student of our industry, and I pay attention and I listen and I read. I follow a lot of experts, and the last 12 to 15 months have certainly been very challenging for our industry in a lot of fronts. And digital marketing is something that I have become really passionate about, and I'm excited to share a little bit with you today about what is digital sales or digital marketing, if you will, why this is important for you right now, switching your mindset, and then developing your digital sales strategy. And as Trevor mentioned, I welcome any questions or insights that you might have about this really important topic. So let's kind of jump in. So we obviously have a poll. Trevor, can you pull up the poll? Because we're going to talk about what is digital marketing, and I hope I get the technology right with our poll here. So our poll is, how knowledgeable are you about digital marketing? And I would love for you to vote and let us see how you're doing there. We've got some good votes coming in. Coming in pretty fast. You guys are doing great. Thank you very much. All right, so we got about almost 100% of you have voted. All right, so with that, it looks like the predominant answer, 83% of you, I'm looking at the result of the poll, said, I somewhat understand it. And then 8% of you said, what is digital marketing? And I love the fact that none of you said you could teach this course, because if that were the case, then I probably would bore you the whole time you're here. So thank you all for joining in that. So let's talk about what is digital marketing. Oops. Here we go. All right. So digital marketing, if you will, internet marketing, is about strategies that help promote your business and your brand and connect you directly with your customer. Honestly, this is about providing content online that your customers can find and can use to learn about you or use to gain information about things that are important to them. Because what you're really doing with content should be providing answers, ideas, information, other resources that are unique to you, your business, and especially if it's something that you do that maybe your competitors don't do, you certainly want to be sharing that online with your customers. And the other thing that this does is it makes your brand readily available and easy to find for all of your audiences. And yes, we have multiple audiences. And I want to underscore something here about brand. It's not just your company's brand. It's also your brand, because you have a brand, whether you're a seller, an owner, a designer, whatever role that you play, you do have a personal brand. And if we saw anything in the last 12 to 18 months that was highlighted a lot, was personal branding. So when we think about content, content can be overwhelming, and I could probably fill 3 slides with the types of content that you could be doing, but I wanted to boil it down into some very basic types of content. The first is writing. This is really one of the most powerful types of content, and these can be blogs, articles, opinion pieces, case studies, and they don't have to be long and complex. But the nice thing about writing is that writing gives you the opportunity to actually take one piece of content and then break it up into multiple pieces of content. So you write one article, and from that article, you pull 5 quotes. And from those quotes, you maybe put those on a note on a card somewhere, and you post those on social media. It also allows you to maybe reference statistics and things of that nature. So there's a lot that can be done with writing. Then there's videos, which is my favorite. Imagery, which are the things like you see on Instagram. We've got infographics like you see here on this slide that are sharing research. And it doesn't have to be research that you did. It could actually be research that maybe a design firm did, or some other thought leadership organization inside or outside of our industry, because there's a lot of people talking about the workplace and the future of the workplace. And there are a lot of statistics that you could take and turn into an infographic. And then there's a ton of other useful information that I know that you have that you can turn into content to share. Now, when we think about digital marketing content, there are really 3 main areas that you want to really try to focus on in building a digital platform. The first is SEO. Now, let me be clear. I am not an expert on SEO, and SEO is the long game. It takes a while to get SEO up and moving. And if you don't know the acronym, as it says here, that's search engine optimization. And this is all about Google going out and crawling out the websites of the world, looking at various different social platforms and gathering information and showing it to people in Google searches. This is keyword focused. So you got to be very intent about the keywords that you're using. And honestly, I would recommend that you hire an expert to help you with optimizing your website and other things to support SEO. Now, the next is probably the most common that almost all of us know and use, which is social media. Obviously, there are tools like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, one of my favorites, Clubhouse, and the list goes on and on. I swear there's 10 more that I didn't even list here that I'm not involved in. But we know that social media has a great opportunity to highlight you as a brand, your organization, the solutions that you provide, and the products that you sell. And then the last is PPC, commonly known as pay per click. And we've all experienced this. This is when you're scrolling through social media and you see an ad pop up. I swear, I think some of this is intuitive. A lot of it is based on you Googling, hey, I need a new wallet. And then you go to your Instagram account and up comes ads for wallets. I know we've all experienced that, but I swear sometimes I think about something and the next thing I know, it's actually on my news feed somewhere. So I think they're listening inside my brain. But PPC is a really effective strategy, and that's where that advertising retargeting comes in. And it is something that is important in the concept of digital marketing. But let's talk about why digital marketing now. I mean, what is it about now that you need? And one of the reasons that I would tell you the most is because it's noisy out there. The world is noisy, and we need to help you stand out both personally and in business and really build your brand awareness and loyalty with your customers. We need to build trust with your brand. And then we need to engage both current and future customers. Getting customers to you today is one of the single most important things that we all need to be doing, because as we know in our industry, we always need to be looking for new opportunities and new business. So what is awareness and loyalty? Well, really the overarching goal of digital marketing in and of itself is exposure, right? And so awareness simply means being active online and keeping fresh, new content top of mind that's positively impacting your customers' likeliness to purchase from your brand, right? It's about driving awareness of your brand. Now, I want to share some statistics with you that I think are pretty important as it relates to awareness directly correlated to selling. 51% of buyers say that they use Google to research a purchase that they are about to make. So I'm curious, I wish I could see all of you. So I'd ask this question to show me a raise of hands. How many of you have Googled something that you were about to go buy or you were considering buying? Maybe a new television, a microwave, a refrigerator, a piece of property. We use Google as a research tool, and our customers do too. Now, 60% of Instagram users say they discover and buy products that they saw on the app. I'm guilty. Are you guilty of that too? I can tell you that there's not a member of my household, including my 2 children and my wife, that have not bought something that they saw on Instagram. It's a great way to showcase products and to get people to engage with your brand and click that buy or learn more button. Now, LinkedIn recently shared with us in the research study that they did that 78% of salespeople, this is B2B salespeople, engaged in social selling are actually outselling their peers who are not social selling. If you're a salesperson or a sales leader watching this right now, that statistic alone is one of the reasons, actually should be the reason that you get engaged in digital marketing. Again, this was about awareness and loyalty. And I want to give you a perfect example. I think we all know who Adobe is. We probably all have an Adobe app somewhere on our desktop or our laptop or on our phone for that matter. They recently conducted a study, and that from that study, what they learned was that simply by seeing Adobe's content on their screens regularly, users were 50% more likely to see the brand as an industry leader and as a trustworthy brand, which then leads us to our next topic, which is brand trust. You know, trusting your brand means customers see and that they believe your marketing is authentic, you have no hidden motives, and that they trust your research, your content, and your products. So this is about building trust where they believe in you. So some of the questions, and we've all experienced this, right? Where somebody throws out something that we don't believe, or it's too good to be true, or they pitch all these great things about this product and we buy the product and it fails miserably. So when you're building brand trust, some of the questions you have to ask yourself are, is your product as good as you say it is? Does your content provide the value that you promise? Are you really giving the value to your customers with the content that you're producing? And then, did I learn something from you and from your brand? What did you teach me, if you will, as you were sharing your content? And I think that's so important, to educate the consumers about who we are and what we do. Now, whether it's through blogs, relevant content, or sharing of others' relevant content, 80% of buyers trust brands that provide thought leadership. And the top of this pyramid is thought leadership. And that's really what we should be focusing on. Now, the next thing leads us to customer engagement, right? And this is meeting and engaging with our customers where they are and our potential customers. And when I say customers, I'm talking about current, former, future, and influencers. Okay. So I'm talking about the A&D community as well. So where are they? Well, just where you are and where everybody else is. They're on the internet. I would encourage you to Google a minute on the internet and see the graph that comes up about the activity that happens in 1 minute on the internet. They're also in Google searches. I'm curious, again, I would love to see your hands to know how many of you have actually done a Google search today. And I'd actually probably start out, how many of you have done more than 5 Google searches today? Because it's a tool that we use on a regular basis. Almost anytime we're looking for something, that's where we go. And a lot of times when we ask friends and colleagues questions, their first response to us is, well, have you Googled it? We've all experienced that as well, right? And then where else are our customers hanging out? They're hanging out on social media platforms. And the interesting thing here is that 78% of consumers prefer to be engaged with you and your brand on multiple platforms. So that platform could be not just social media. It could also be places like Google and running ads on Google. So we looked at some of those benefits of what it does to build brand loyalty, awareness, trust, and engagement by doing digital marketing strategies. Now I want to talk to you about switching your mindset. As a high performance coach, mindset is one of the things that I spend a lot of time talking about. And I'm going to encourage you and to a degree challenge you to change your mindset around something. So Trevor, I think we have a poll here right now. Can you bring up the poll, please, sir? So I want to know, is traditional cold calling in our industry dead? Simple yes or no. Oh, this is interesting. About 50% of you have voted. Oh, this is really interesting. All right, got about 90. All right, 100% of you have voted. Okay, this is really, really interesting. So 63% of you say that traditional cold calling in our industry is not dead, but yet 38% of you say it is dead. So I'm actually going to agree with those of you that said it's dead, because we have a lot of challenges in our industry, and I want you to switch your mindset, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. We have a tremendous amount of challenges that are facing our industry right now. And I am 100% on board with the fact that traditional cold calling in our industry is dead. Now, I might be a little bit old school in thinking about what cold calling is, but think about pre-pandemic when we used to be out and about and you'd grab your INDEAL books and you'd head off down the road and you'd pull into a parking lot of a multi-story building and you'd get out and you'd start walking that complex, passing out business cards, handing out catalogs, and asking for the contact of the person who's responsible for the furniture purchase. That, my friends, is dead. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. You're going to have an appointment to get in to see anybody. And I also am going to argue the point that I think cold emailing is dead. When you think about emailing, the statistics prove that it takes up to 8 emails to reach a customer or a potential customer. And that means them just opening it. Okay. That doesn't mean they're engaging with it, but that means just opening it. And again, I'd love to see your hands on this. How many of you get more than 5 cold emails in a day? I probably get 10 to 15. And what do I do with them? I just delete them. Just like what most of you do is you delete cold emails. They just don't work. They are important, but they don't work. The hybrid workplace is actually providing a significant amount of challenges for us as we move forward as well. Why is that? I mean, all the experts are talking about it. This seems to be what's going to happen and where the world is going. The challenge it creates for us, especially as business leaders and sellers, is by 2025, 40% or more of the workplace could work remotely from their home 1 to 3 days a week. And currently, now the statistics on this, we're going to change on basically a weekly basis as companies still try to figure it out. But 70% of companies currently report switching to a hybrid model. Well, what does that mean? Our customers aren't in the office. They're not going to be where we can go meet with them in person. The A&D community is not in the office. They're working remotely. And if you do get so the hybrid model presents all types of challenges for us as a seller of a product that supports the actual workplace. But the other thing that I'm going to tell you, and that I truly believe in, and there are lots of information to support this, is what I call the 15 minutes of fame. It's very unfortunate right now that the design community and other influencers, it may take you 4 to 6 months to actually get a meeting with them. And once you do get a meeting with them, you realize that it's only 15 minutes. Excuse me. I really would ask you the question, how in the heck can we present who we are, what we do, the problems that we solve for our customers, the solutions that we offer, and our products in 15 minutes? We can't. The paradigm is shifting around us, and we have to be able to adapt to it. And that includes, unfortunately, again, libraries are going away. We hear this more and more. They're doing electronic libraries like MRL. Some of them aren't doing libraries at all. So the days, Mr. or Mrs. A&D rep, that you used to have the opportunity to walk into an A&D firm and say, I'm going to update your library. If they still have that library, you're going to have an appointment. But so you can't just walk in anymore, and you can't lay out a tray of cookies anymore and hang out there with your stack of business cards for an hour while you update, waiting on people to come in and out and to see what kind of connections you can make. That opportunity is significantly limited moving forward. These are the reasons why digital marketing is so important. And it's why I want you to change your mindset. I want you to change your mindset to understand how do we find new customers today? We find new customers today by seeking to be found by them rather than continuing to seek them. Our industry has always been focused on outbound business development and finding new customers. It's time that we came into the digital age and provided information, tools, and resources so when they're looking, they can find us. Every other industry is doing this, some of them doing it really, really well. It is time for us to step up and do this. There are 4 steps that I think are critical to helping you seek to be found, okay? First off, you got to know your customers. You got to know all the details about them. You've got to build out a persona about your customer. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. You got to know who they are. You have to know the pain points that they have and the challenges that they're facing. An example for this might be if you're targeting healthcare, you have to know who your healthcare customer is. You have to know the challenges that exist in healthcare currently. What are they facing over the next 5 years as it relates to employee retention and attraction, as well as patient care and how they're seeing patients today? You've got to know and understand what the client is going through, and you should do this for every one of your clients, including your influencers. Additionally, you need to get really clear about that, how you would answer those questions and how you would position the solutions that you offer to the problems that the customer has. And you do this without talking about your product. You focus on the solution first and the problems that you solve for them. And then you meet them where they are. I mentioned a few minutes ago where they are. They're hanging out on the internet, which is another reason why you need to start developing strategies to really drive your sales and marketing efforts to get customers to you. Change your mindset and then get into these strategies, these 5 strategies that I'm about to show you. And I know I'm going pretty fast here, but I want you to be sure you're taking some notes. But I want to talk about these 5 strategies. The first one, make sure you have a user-friendly, resourceful website. Again, I'd love to see all of you guys raise your hand if you've been to a company's website and it was so frustrating to navigate that you just closed out and left. But before you did, there was a little pop-up box that said, hey, don't leave yet, don't leave yet. But you did anyway because you couldn't find what you're looking for. When you're building out a customer experience on the internet, and that's what it is, a customer experience, every location or every opportunity a customer has to experience your brand, you should be curating that experience. So what do they see first? Will they find the information they're looking for? How quickly and how easily can they find it? What are they going to look for first? Make navigating your site easy, simple, and engaging so that literally a 10-year-old could navigate your site. That's how simple and easy you want it to be. The next thing is, remember, this is all about valuable information and not product information, and not just product information. Product information is important, but on your website, it should be secondary to what you're sharing with your customer, because this is about the establishment of you as a thought leader and an industry expert, someone that can help guide that customer through the challenges that they're facing, especially as it relates to return to the workplace and new workplace strategies. So you want to ask yourself, how easy is it for them to discover your blog or research that you've done, or maybe research you're sharing from someone else? Maybe your brand partner has some amazing research. Are the brands and the products that you sell front and center? I said this a minute ago, they should not be. Your product specifically and the brands should be secondary. And honestly, I would argue the point that if I go to your website, I should not be able to determine what brand product that you sold. That's my opinion. Other people have different opinions, but I would argue, because I want to know about you. I want to know what you do and not necessarily just the brands that you sell. And then what are the problems that you solve? What do you do for your customer? What are your solutions that you provide and the problems that you solve for your customers? Next, and this one is, excuse me, really big for me, is make sure you're providing easy communication mechanisms for your clients. Install a chat bot on your website. There are free versions, there are low-cost versions. I have one on my website. It gets used frequently. Mine's live. I want the client to be able to talk directly to me and engage directly with me. So it's monitored at certain hours throughout the day. I have it turned off when I'm not available. This is also, another way to capture great information, like the customer's email address, depending on how you set it up, because some chat bots require name and email address first before they can chat with you. And guys, when you have the person's email address, that's literally the golden ticket of digital marketing. Next, make sure that your showroom address is linked and mapped there, so it's super easy for them to find where you are, and very friendly to click on a Google or an Apple link and take them straight to Apple Maps to get directions to your showroom. Next, make sure the contact page is super easy to locate. And again, I wish I could see all of you guys, but raise your hand if you found a contact page on somebody and you click on that, read who that person is, and you click on their picture and there's no contact information. There's no phone number and there's no email address. You got to make it easy for the customer to engage with you. This is about, if they get to your website and they're looking around and they click on your picture, if they're doing that, they're taking extra steps and extra time, they're likely going to email you. Don't miss out on the opportunity by not providing that information. So with that, I want to ask you, what actions are you going to take to move this forward as it relates to your website? All right. Oh, okay. Next one, digital strategy number 2. Research. Actually, Trevor, can we close the poll? It doesn't come up till a little bit later. Sorry.
Yes, poll is closed. Sorry about that, Sid.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's number 2. Research and write an article. This may sound complicated, but it actually is really not. Writing something does not have to be complicated. You can write a 500-word, 1-page document, insert a few images, and all of a sudden you have an article, right? So don't overthink this. The one thing that I would encourage you about, because I mentioned in the beginning how important writing is, the one thing that I would encourage you to do is be sure that it's SEO optimized, that they are critical keywords that we know our customers are searching for. And I wish I could remember the name of this website, but there is a place for you to go and you can, and Trevor, I'll try to find it and send it to you if anybody asks for it, and we can send it out to them, where you can actually see keywords that customers are Googling. Excuse me. So you could type in office furniture and you know exactly some of the things that they're typing into Google, which would help you optimize keywords, right? So that's what's important about that. Again, an article is a great way to repurpose multiple pieces of content. You could write the article and publish it on LinkedIn. This is for an individual or a business. Publish it on LinkedIn. You could take quotes from it and put those on Instagram or Pinterest. You could build an infographic and publish those as well. So there's multiple ways and a lot of power that comes from writing one piece of content from a 500 to 700 word article. And be sure to state your resources or cite them, right? So when you think about this, again, not everyone's a writer, but I'd like to ask you, what action are you going to take towards writing to support your personal brand as well as your business brand? All right, strategy number 3. Social media can be overwhelming. There's 15 plus different platforms. My encouragement to you is to pick one. Pick one platform and really get good at that platform before you start trying to do 10 platforms. And what based on our research and the things that we've learned, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Pinterest are where our customers are hanging out. Okay. So obviously we know LinkedIn is a huge B2B platform. I'm extremely active on LinkedIn. It's my favorite platform, with Instagram being second and Pinterest being third. Actually, I put Clubhouse above Pinterest, and then Pinterest next as it relates to my strategy. But get really good at one. Don't let this overwhelm you. Don't try to do LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram Reel. Just, we could go on and on with this, right? Pick one, get really good at it, and put out the content that's going to get you discovered by your customers. Just remember, each one of these has a different strategy, and you can't take LinkedIn content and repurpose it on Instagram. But the important thing here is for you to build thought leadership around you and your brand. So you can do things like Instagram lives and showroom tours. You can do new product samples that came in. You could do an interview on Instagram as an IG live and interview your CEO and ask questions. I actually do that now with my podcast guests, where I bring them in on Thursdays after the episode launches on Monday, and we go on Instagram live and we have a follow-up conversation. It's good for me. It's good for them. It's good for the podcast. There are lots of ways to do this, and a lot of examples of best practices from a dealer and a manufacturer that you could go seek. Again, infographics, statistics, provide free resources. Opt-ins are really, really good to provide a free resource, but in order to get that resource, there's a call to action that requires a email address. Again, the email address is the golden ticket in online marketing, right? So it's a lot of noise out there on social platforms. So which one are you going to do? What action are you going to take as we move into the fourth and my favorite, video? Video is so powerful that you've got to get engaged in video. And here's why. Video gets 12 times more shares than traditional photo and text posts combined. 73% of consumers worldwide prefer video on social media to still our inactive posts, right? Goodness. Videos under 90 seconds have a 53% retention rate. Now, I know that 90 seconds sounds really fast, but it's actually not that fast. And you can deliver a lot of value in 90 seconds. And when you do, people remember it. 53 is a 53% higher retention rate. Now, companies that share video on social media, because this is what it does, it drives people to your website. They have a 41% more website traffic. So you got your website optimized, you got it looking good. It's a great experience for the customer. Posting videos in social media is going to increase that website traffic by 41%, which means it's bringing new customers to you. You're being found because of the video. Again, very powerful statistics. Now, listen, I know video is scary. People like freak out about how I can't do a video. I get it. I do them. I know how much courage that it takes to actually do them, but you don't have to make them long. You don't have to make them complicated. They don't all have to be professional. You've got an iPhone or an Android, grab it, record yourself in a video. I mean, messy videos are okay. They do not have to be perfect. So don't strive for perfection. Okay. But you can talk about how to's, you can do tutorials, you can demo a chair. I've seen quite a bit of that. You can actually have customer testimonials and record a customer saying something about you for 90 seconds, right? I mean, there's so much that you can do with video. The most important thing is to get involved with it. So where do you start? I want to give you a couple of examples of some really easy things to do. Some of you may know Dr. Rex Miller, who lives here in Texas near me. Rex is very vocal on LinkedIn. He does a lot of videos. He's constantly posting and engaging. The thing I want you to notice about what Rex does is Rex is not selling. He's adding value to the people that follow him. He's building engagement. He's starting conversations that go into the LinkedIn direct messenger, then go offline, and then they become a customer. He's adding value and he's not selling. And that's an example of LinkedIn. I have a whole series of videos that I recently recorded that I'll be posting over the next couple of months, because you can batch record videos at the same time. So this doesn't have to be hard, right? But I'm a huge Instagram guy. I love IG. I think it's a lot of fun. This is just a quick snapshot of my Instagrams and the things that I've done as it relates to IG Lives. And you can see there in the top right, left-hand corner, that was my last IG Live with one of my podcast guests, Dr. Sarah Beth Burke. But they're great ways to engage, and they give the people the opportunity to get to know you, to like you, and trust you. And none of these are professional, guys. Every one of them has been with my phone. Now, there's a lot of outward-facing video. Now I want to give you a little bit of an inward-facing video tool that you could use to increase conversion rates with your emails. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with tools like Loom and Vidyard. Both of these are free. They're free versions of these, and they give you the opportunity to record a personalized message using a camera like I have right here on my computer or your phone, and send it as a link to a customer where you could say something like, "Hey, Trevor, it's been months since I've seen you. I hope you and your family are doing well. We got some new finishes in. I wanted to show them to you really quickly. If any of these resonate with you, let me know and I'll send you a sample out the next day." Something that easy. It can be just a reintroduction. "Hey, Trevor, dude, we lost contact. It's been a couple of years since we connected. And man, I've been missing you, wondering how you're doing. Hit reply and let me know what's up with you and your family." These are free. You know what's great about this is you get analytics. You get to see if they opened it, when they opened it, did they watch the entire video? You get to see if they shared it and how many times they shared it, and the people that they shared it with. You actually get to see if they watched it. So you get a ton of analytics from this to know how effective this tool is, and it's free. You can upgrade to a paid version, but it's absolutely free. There are the website links for both of them. I am not affiliated with either one of them. We are testing both of them to see which works best for us, but they're really unique tools that you could start using today. Now, I know that's a lot of information about video, but I'm going to ask you, what action you're going to take to upping your game as it relates to video, because it is so very important. Now, the fifth one, maybe you do know about it or maybe you don't know about it, but how many times have you read a post that says link in bio? And you got to go to the bio, you got to put the link in, sidmeadows.com/blog to look at the blog. And then when I want to reference the podcast, I got to change it to podcast. So Linktree is a tool that brings all that together. This actually makes it super easy to put all the information of how to find you in one location. It really is focused on helping you be found, right? It summarizes your links to your social media platforms, your websites. You could link your favorite manufacturers out there. I mean, there's so much that you could do. And again, this is a free tool. It does not cost any money for Linktree. Now, this is what mine looks like. This is the phone version. I recently updated mine the other day just to have the About Me section from my website, my podcast, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn's my favorite platform, so I want people connecting with me there first. You see down at the bottom the icons of Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, email. That next link is to the Apple podcast because most people are listening to my podcast on Apple. And then the next one is my Clubhouse handle. So this is right. I mean, this could go on and on. You could put as much stuff here as you want to. And it's also web-based. So that little link up there that you see is what you get that you could post on Instagram, on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you wanted to about how to get in touch with you, right? But also, and you could put that in the bottom of email signatures as well, rather than having everything down there and cluttering up the email signature. But another thing that you can do, and I really like, this is what I call a hack, is it has a QR code. And so you can scan the QR code and whatever device they're on is what will come up, kind of like what we've seen happen in restaurants during the last 12 months or so. And QR codes are making a big comeback. So I'd encourage you to get a QR code. Here's my hack. I take a picture of it and I put it in my favorites in my phone. So if I'm out and about somewhere and I don't have any business cards, or I meet somebody that wants to get in touch with me without having to spell out my email or my phone number or whatever, I just open up the QR code and I show it to them and they take a picture of it, and it opens up in their browser and it's right there for them. So that's a hack that I think is a really cool way to use Linktree. So now I'm going to ask you, what action are you going to take to move forward here? And with that, Trevor, bring up our final poll as we wrap up the 5 strategies that we shared with you about optimizing your website, writing an article, focusing on one channel, engaging in video, and then building out your link tree. So I want to know, what action are you going to take this week? Let's see. What action are you going to take this week? All right, we're about halfway there. Let's get everybody voted. We've had 100% voting throughout. So let's we can get everybody here. Oh, we got some people that are going to say they're going to create videos on Instagram and LinkedIn. I love it. All right, just a couple more seconds. Come on, we got 20% more people to vote. Okay, almost all the votes are coming in. What are you going to do? There's nobody holding you accountable to this except you and the people that saw you vote, right? All right, so we got about 80% that have voted, Trevor. A couple more people thinking about it. Give it a couple more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and end the poll. It looks like 36% of you are actually going to create a video on LinkedIn. That's awesome. Congratulations. If you do it, send it to me. Send me a note. Let me know that you did it. I'll engage in it or tag me in it or something. But I'm a huge fan of videos, so I'd love to see your videos. Build out your link tree. Bravo. That's awesome. It's such an easy tool. And I would love to know who the 2 people were that voted that they're maybe take action near Thanksgiving. So thank you all for voting. I love it very much. I do want to give you a couple of other resources. You know, there's so much information available about digital marketing. In 42 minutes, crammed a lot of stuff there for you. So it can make your head swim a little bit. Amanda Snyder, I think most of you probably know Amanda, the president of Think Lab. Her podcast season that just started a few weeks ago is talking about networking and sales in the future. And last week's episode was about the future of digital, and she talks all about digital marketing. And it is a great resource to hear some industry leaders talk about what they did. Another resource, Neil Patel, for those of you that may not know him, he is definitely a thought leader and an industry leader as it relates to digital marketing. His YouTube videos get hundreds of thousands of views, a ton of information about digital marketing that I would encourage you to go out and check out his YouTube channel. Right here, number 62, that's my podcast from this week. Jennifer Ruckel, the vice president of sales at 3Form, shared their story of digital transformation and all the things that 3Form has done to reach their customers through the last 12 to 18 months and the important role that digital marketing played for them. LinkedIn Learning, if you have the premium version of LinkedIn, this is a free to you. If not, I would encourage you to check out LinkedIn Learning. I went out there and just typed in digital marketing. There are 91 courses, full courses available about digital marketing. There's a lot of information out there for you to disseminate through and to get pull out best practices that work for you and that work for your organization. And then this last, Making Sales Social, this is a LinkedIn specific. I had the opportunity to be interviewed by these folks. The actual episode date is wrong on this graphic. The episode will drop next Monday, the 19th at 12 p.m. And you can find it on the Sales Expert channel. This is a gateway video. It's not like a normal podcast. This is a gateway video. You actually have to put in your name and email address in order to have access to it. But it's a really, really good interview, and it's geared towards LinkedIn. So if you are someone that's focusing on LinkedIn, I encourage you to go do that. And with that, I appreciate all of you joining me today for the digital sales strategy. I talked longer than I wanted to, but I would welcome the opportunity to connect with you. If you recognize this little thing, I'll give you an opportunity to take a picture of it with your phone and give you that, because it is a really, really neat tool. But for those of you that may be listed or don't have that opportunity, here are all the ways to connect with me. Again, LinkedIn's my favorite platform. If you are out there, please reach out, say hello. Let me know that you were here today. If we're not connected, please connect. And then Instagram is my second favorite. And I don't have Clubhouse up here, but if you're on Clubhouse, that's also a great platform for learning, education, and business development. And with that, Mr. Trevor, you want to come back?
I am here, and Sid, we are being overwhelmed by questions and comments right now.
Okay, so before we go to the questions, let's talk about, we want to talk about the podcast for just a minute.
Absolutely. So the first thing we just wanted to make sure that all of you had here today was a little bit of access and a little bit of an introduction if you haven't sat on any of the Trend Report podcasts yet. So Sid, for anyone that hasn't been a part of it or has not been on one in a while, can you just give that quick high-level overview of what your podcast is and just kind of tell them a little bit about the benefit of joining one of your podcasts?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Trend Report, basically, it's real conversations with real people about real topics and issues in our industry. And I'm not a fan of solo episodes. I do have some, but I'm not a fan of them. What I am really a fan of is bringing people together, real people, not just leaders and not just people that you know and love, but people that are just like me and you, that have stories to tell, that have information to share, that's going to help you in your business and in your life. And so these last between 30 and 45 minutes. We drop episodes every Monday. We have a really good follower base. We also send an email out about it. If you'd like to join our email, you can hop over to my website at sidmeadows.com and join our email list and join our community. I promise we don't spam you, but I love podcasting. It's one of my favorite things to do. I'm really excited to be partnering with INDEAL on it. And we're doing some really good things. We got a lot of really great episodes. We are at episode 62 that launched this week. So, and we've planned out through September. And my goal is to make sure that you feel that you're sitting right there with me and my guests, and that you're part of that conversation, and that I'm asking questions to the things that you want to know. So that's that's a lot of the feedback that we do get. I did want to share a few episodes that I think might be really relevant to you guys. I'm not going to go through these. We'll leave this slide up for just a moment for you to see. These are all pre-recorded, available on my website or on any podcast platform. I think we're distributed on 20 different platforms at the moment, and we've been viewed in 19 different countries. So we do have some upcoming episodes that you see here that you guys might find interesting. Dean McIntyre, the president of EZO Board and Quiet Earth Moss, Stephanie Ince with Dovetail, Rob Day with ESI, and Max Verkamp, the CEO of Indiana Furniture, will be joining me for a CEO chat early in the fall. So we'd love for you to subscribe and join our community. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about the podcast. So Trevor, thanks for the opportunity to talk more detail about it. And I do appreciate you and the Daves and everybody at INDEAL for all the support of the podcast and helping to spread the reach of it.
Thank you, Sid. So I want to jump in to get some of these questions answered. So the first one I'm actually going to answer myself, and it's just asking how to get the recording for this session. So the recording will be accessible early Monday. We usually do a little bit of editing, and this will be accessible on the INDEAL U site through the webinars on demand. So you can access all of the recordings there. On to the next questions. We just have a few comments in terms of sharing the infographic regarding social media use and focus.
So was that the one on the slide itself?
I believe
that I
so.
think it was the one. Okay. Yes, I will go find that. We have the research link. I just want to make sure that it's real information and not just an image infograph example. So we'll make a note of who asked that, Trevor, and just make sure that let me validate that it's not just an image and that it is real data. So I will do that.
Perfect. And then the next one was just a request for the optimized keyword source that you were talking about for the SEOs.
I've been racking my brain all day trying to figure that out. So website, it's like America Ask or Ask America Questions or America Ask Questions or something like that, that it literally shows you all the words that have been Googled. So website of Google words. I will find that. I'll ask some of my podcast friends because it's a very popular tool among podcasters to come up with topics for podcasting.
Perfect. So just for those two resources, we'll add a tab below the recording that you can access all the links for that requested section. And so now moving forward into a couple other questions. So Sid, what is your perspective on how and when a dealer should or should not leverage the social content from an aligned manufacturer as part of a dealer's social media platform?
That's a great question. And what I'm going to tell you is you should always leverage it, right? Your brands are giving you information, tools, and resources that they paid to do, right? They paid to do that research. They paid for that interview with the designer, or they wrote that article. What I would encourage you to do is to take it and repurpose it a little bit. So if your brand did research and wrote a research article about the future of the workplace, rather than just clicking and sharing that, right? That's what I would not do. What I would do is take that article, I would take the top key takeaways from it, and I might create an infographic, or maybe I create my own article, or maybe a LinkedIn post about it that says, my top 6 takeaways from Steelcase's recent research on the future of the workplace are boom, 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 boom. And then in the first comment section, specifically on LinkedIn, right? The thing you have to remember, except Pinterest, is none of the platforms want you directing people off platform. Okay. And so don't put the links in the actual post itself, put the links in the comments, because they don't see the redirect when it comes in the comments. They see the redirect when it actually is in the post itself. But yes, take the tools that the manufacturers are giving you, repurpose them to be your content, and then share that with your audience. I hope that was helpful.
Perfect. So the next question is, when using video tools, are these more susceptible to an audience's spam filter and not getting to your targets?
That's also a really good question. So, here's the thing that I've learned about video is that it's really powerful. And not everyone is going to engage with you, right? Not everyone is your target customer. However, it's not just about finding your target customer, right? Let's say that you did, I'll just keep on this theme of the future of the workplace. Let's say that you did a video about the 3 things to remember in the designing the workplace of the future. And I happened to see that video and I decided to listen to it because the video view requires 10 seconds. Okay. So I decided to watch that video. And I heard you say 3 things that maybe I had been thinking about, or maybe better yet, my friend that I had dinner last night was talking about the challenges that her company was going through in return to work strategies. And then that person heard your video the next day. Guess what happens? It gets referred. That video is either going to be shared on your social or shared on that platform. But one metric that you never know is how it's shared is indirect messages. Right. So they go grab the video and I share it with my friend Susie, who just talked to me last night about return to workplace strategies that their company is working on. And I just shared your video. I just referred you. So whether or not it's the target, then you still have the opportunity to influence, right? And to share insights, then you never know when people need those. So I would not be necessarily overly worried about spamming as much, especially on social platforms, as I would be about being referred as an industry expert. That's what you want to be. Don't go only talk about your great, your great task chair, your great new height adjustable table. Talk about things inside of our industry. Now, specifically related to email, the tools that I mentioned, Vidyard and Loom, the email is actually, it shows a favicon, if you will, of the fact that you did an email to that person or you did a video for that person. But to watch the video, they have to click a link and go off. Now, that may cause some spam filtering, potentially. But what I found more times in our limited testing, it has a tremendous amount of impact to send somebody a video like that. And let's not forget a couple of things to remember about this as well. LinkedIn actually, from your mobile device in Messenger, has the ability for you to send a video message to people that you're talking to, as well as an audio message. And then you can also an audio message on Instagram as well. So there are a lot of ways, I think, around spamming and filtering, but it all starts with you got to get connected with them, right? You got to get to know them, and they got to find you first. So once they find you, then they connect with you, and then you can have a conversation in the DMs, because that's what it's about, right? You put out content that resonates with them, they connect with you, they make a comment, you comment back, and then you connect with them. Then you take it to the DMs and you have a conversation in the DMs, and then you request the Zoom meeting or the personal meeting or in real life, right? IRL, in real life meeting, whether it's over coffee or whatever, that's going to lead you to a potential new customer or even a referral base, right? So I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Sid. So for the next question, it was actually posted in the chat. So if you don't have the chat open right now, you can access that on the toolbar. And if it's not showing up there, click the More button on the bottom toolbar and then click Chat. But it was just a question that if anyone knows of a reliable, proven office furniture specific SEO company. Sid, do you have any suggestions there? And if there's anyone in the audience that has a suggestion there as well, make sure you throw that in the chat.
No, that's a great question. And no, I do not. I know a lot of people, but I do not know anyone that does SEO specific. Sorry. The great question though. I think I'm going to do a little bit of research to see if I can't find someone that does it. Perfect. Great question though. It's a great business opportunity for somebody.
Absolutely. So if there's anyone in the audience that has a source, please feel free to post that in the chat just so we can get a couple resources out there. And so Sid, the next question is, how do you feel about Instagram and LinkedIn stories? And do you have any specific strategies for utilizing those?
So yes and no, and no and yes. LinkedIn stories suck. Sorry, LinkedIn. I love you, but your stories suck. But what I'm doing with LinkedIn, it's not something that LinkedIn is really, really focused on. Not everybody has stories on LinkedIn. It's still a beta test feature, so not everybody's got it. But my strategy with LinkedIn stories is behind the scenes and more personal related stuff. And I'll be the first one to admit, because everybody doesn't have it, it's not something I do every day. Okay. So I'm not as good at that as I am in feed LinkedIn content, right? That's where I'm really focusing my effort. Stories are an afterthought, but when I do it, that's why I said yes and no. When I do it, it is really about behind the scenes, celebrating something. I think I did one not too long ago with a glass of wine, watching the sunset, and said the reward for a really, really busy week, happy weekend. So it's stuff that a little more personal about that. Now, here's what's really cool about LinkedIn stories is you can click on the button and you can see everybody that saw it. So you know who engaged with it. The other cool thing about it is LinkedIn actually pushes stories outside of your network. So it goes beyond your first and your second degree, and it goes to third degree plus reach. And so they are doing that. The problem is everybody doesn't have stories. So they got to get it to a place where everybody's got stories. And oh, by the way, they're only available on your phone. They're not available on your desktop, unlike LinkedIn and unlike Instagram stories available on your desktop. So Instagram. Here's the thing about Instagram stories. They're awesome. They drive a tremendous amount of engagement. You can be fun with them. You can show your personality with them. You know, I share my walk in the morning because I actually have a walk and talk. We call ourselves pocket friends. Every morning from 5 to 6 o'clock, I walk with a group of friends from around the world. And we just talk about nonsense. We walk for an hour. I post the shot of my watch about how many miles that I walked and how long that I walked. It's a great way to drive engagement. Here's the thing about Instagram. People get irritated if you show up in the news feed more than 3 times in a day, but they'll click through 10 or 15 stories without thinking about it, right? So stories are a great way to share insights, information. I love what I see INDEAL doing in highlighting pinpoint with this or that. That's great. This or that is really good. Also in the stories is where your lives show up. So there's a lot of benefit to stories, especially on Instagram. And remember, Instagram is typically, even though an old guy like me is using it, it is typically a younger demographic. This Instagram is where your young designers are hanging out. Your millennials are hanging out there, you know, and so it's a great way to target that demographic to get them to be engaged with you, right? So yeah, you need a strategy around both, but I would not focus on LinkedIn. I would focus on Instagram first. And honestly, I'll add to it. If you don't have Pinterest, you got to get on the Pinterest bandwagon. Holy cow, Pinterest has so much to offer. And they now have their own version of stories that they call idea pins. I just started recently using it to promote my brand and the podcast. And I'm only 4 days in and my engagement is really, really good. Here's the great thing about Pinterest that the other platforms don't do. Pinterest drives people to your website. Every pin has an external link that's taking people to your website. And think about all the things you search for on Pinterest. People are also searching for the products that you offer. And there's an inside Pinterest way to actually get the keywords of what people are searching for on Pinterest. So Pinterest's stories are they're called idea pins. It's also very interesting. Sorry, I'm talking too much, Trevor. But as you can see, I'm really passionate about this.
Not a problem. Then the last was just a comment to access the last video source. So as we mentioned before, for all the resources that were requested, we'll add a PDF to the bottom of the recording. So you'll be able to access all of the sources that you saw Sid talk about today. And we went over our hour mark. So at this time, we're going to wrap it up. So Sid, thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking a little bit about your insight on digital marketing and digital marketing strategies. We're extremely happy that we had you here today. So thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, buddy. Thank you.
All right. And that's all that we have for you guys today. So on behalf of the INDEAL team, we thank you for joining us today and stay safe.